Well, speaking of sex and attractiveness and whatnot.
Okay.
These kids these days, goddamn kids.
Yeah.
They're just out of control with their social media and their texting and whatnot.
Okay.
Apparently, there's a big problem in Colorado at a high school.
Okay.
Involving sexting.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's horrible.
Well, for when you take it, when you take it back to when you and I were high school age.
Yeah.
This does kind of exceed that a bit because
Okay.
we did not have access to the modern technology that is available today.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a huge problem with sexting among high school students at a Colorado high school, to the point to where it's almost become criminal.
I got to hear it before I make a comment.
All right. Widespread circulation of hundreds of sexually explicit photos among students at a Colorado high school by way of text messages has triggered a criminal investigation, multiple suspensions, and the forfeiture of a football game. Officials said on Friday.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, see, the problem is here's the thing: is that some high school students, before they graduate,
Yeah.
they're 18 years and older.
Okay.
Okay, so by the time you're 18,
Yeah.
you're now an adult,
True.
even though you're in high school.
Right. I get you.
Once you cross that threshold of adulthood, now you're criminally liable if you possess or pass on pornographic photos of somebody who's underage.
Are you criminally liable? And I'm not trying to defend this in any way, shape, or form, so let me start there. But are you? Let's say that your 15-year-old girlfriend sent you, or you took a picture of her sucking your cock when you were 17, and you had it on your phone. When you turn 18, is it now illegal to have that same picture on your phone?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Because you're now an adult.
Okay.
And you've got an underage person. You possess underage pornography or...
So the action didn't change. Just a day on the calendar.
Correct.
And that's the difference between legal and illegal.
Well, it's the difference between voting and not voting.
Yeah. Yeah, because certainly not being a citizen is no longer a criteria.
And it's the difference between drinking and not drinking. Are you 20 today and 21 tomorrow?
Yeah, but you're legally allowed to do that when you were younger. That's the part that's different.
What are you talking about?
When you're 17 years old, or when you're 20 years old, you're not allowed to drink. When you're 21, you are.
Correct, but if it was...
hold on. When you're 17 years old, you're allowed to take a picture of your 15-year-old naked girlfriend.
Because you're two minors.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You were allowed then.
Yeah, but it's not a matter of when it took place. It's a matter of when you have possession of it now.
Yeah. Wow.
You see what I mean? You could be 20 today and get busted for underage drinking, but your birthday could be tomorrow.
Right. I get it. That's a tough one to that's a toughie to administrate.
Sure.
Wow.
Authorities at Cannon City, about 90 miles southwest of Denver, said at a news conference that following a tip, nude, semi-nude, and sexually suggestive images were uncovered at the 1,100 student Canyon City High School.
Right.
Cannon City Police Chief Paul Schultz said investigators seized a phone containing several hundred inappropriate photographs from a student at Canyon City High School.
Okay.
Hail and kill caller, you're on the air.
Welcome to the Classic Metal Show's episode of Legal Talk.
What is it?
It's one of those deals where something that started out with good intentions ends up kind of backfiring because it has this sort of zero tolerance aspect.
Well, I agree, but see, again, this goes back to, like I said, voting or not voting. You can't vote at 17, but if the election was held, a day before your 18th birthday, you still couldn't vote.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess they figure age, slapping an age onto a thing is better than, trying to give everybody who wants to participate in the activity, whether it's fucking 14-year-olds or drinking or voting, giving them some sort of competency test before they're allowed to do it,
Well, here's my question, and I was trying to get there, but then I just kind of backed out of it. Shouldn't this just be illegal? I don't care what age you are. A 15-year-old should not be allowed to take a picture of another 15-year-old naked. Shouldn't it just be across the board illegal?
They're allowed to do that, but then an 18-year-old who has possession of that picture, or who says the 18-year-old that has the picture is the one who took it.
Well, but you're in possession of it.
Okay, so
yeah, exactly.
if a 17-year-old kid forgets his phone and his dad goes back in the gym and picks it up and the cop stops him, is he under arrest?
I don't know. I haven't heard of cases like that, but I've heard of stuff where they'd actually take pictures out of it. Just consider actually sex, right? Mm-hmm. So they had the hard and fast, if you'll pardon the expression, hard and fast law where, somebody over 18 can't have sex with somebody under 18, right?
Correct.
And they had so many complaints where, somebody who's 18 in 2 months can't have sex with his girlfriend who is,
17 and 11 months.
Yeah, exactly. So then what they did was they adjusted it so that it was like the difference between they made it so it was it depended on like the point spread between them, so to speak.
Jesus, it's calculus.
Like a person who is like, say, over 18 can't have sex with somebody who's under 18. He's allowed to have sex with someone under 18 if the difference between them is like, say, 3 years. And I'm just making a number up to illustrate the point. So a 19-year-old could have sex with a 16-year-old because there's only 3 years between them, even though they're on different sides of 18, right?
Wow. Well, it's what the law recognizes as an adult as compared to a minor.
Yeah, exactly.
I think 8 years old should be adult.
Yeah, well, as far as it all being legal, I mean, look at back in the 70s, supposedly child porn, so-called child porn was readily available.
Right. It was on the cover of the Scorpions album.
I was just going to say that. You beat me to it. But no, you could buy, not. I don't know how dirty and raw it got, but you could buy pictures of underage people in magazines and newsstands.
Yeah, well, don't send me any, Doghouse, please.
I wouldn't know where to find it, Christopher. Although I think the real Jeff Tate may be skating on some pretty thin ice with his so-called daughter.
Right.
But I don't know. I just think that whole zero tolerance thing is, zero tolerance is zero tolerance. So no room for any exceptions. And then all of a sudden you've got a bunch of exceptions that, any normal person would say, well, that's fucked up.
I agree.
And it's an occasion where the laws just don't keep pace with technology, and you got a bunch of old people who don't understand the laws, making the laws, so they don't understand the technology. They're making laws that govern stuff they have no fucking clue about. These youngsters, let me get this straight. They take photographs. What is this thing called? A beamer shot with their telephones, and then they call it sexting with their telephones. I don't understand. Well, I don't like it. I mean, you got people throwing fits about the books kids reading. You know, they're supposed to be reading in high school because they talk about romantic shit. They talk about sex and fucking and stuff. Well, guess what? Did you ever forget what it was like to be a teenager? That's what we thought about.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I gotta say, the phones and sexting just makes it easier to have less game. Makes it easier to be lacking socially. Because we had to work to get those chicks naked.
Yeah, it goes. You could say that. You could have said that, 15, 20 years ago about the internet.
Yeah.
You could be a total nerd and still get laid on the internet anyway, just by sitting in front of your computer.
Yep.
So all hail the nerds.
Yeah, I spent the whole day.
They finally get some richly deserved pussy too. And that is all. Fuck you, pal.
There he goes.
I will talk to you in a minute.
Nice. All right. Just to make it clear.
Yeah.
The spelling of the place is called Canon. And notice I'm being criticized in the chat room for my pronunciation.
Is it not canon?
It's Canon.
That's canon.
Canon.
Yeah.
Cannon City Police. Anyway, they confiscated a phone with inappropriate photographs from a student at Cannon City High School.
All right, that's Canyon.
Okay, whatever. I'm just spelling it out. All right. We will be attempting to identify the people and make our best determination if there have been any violations of the law.
All right, you students, whip those dicks out so we can see which one matches this picture.
That kind of reminds me of Porky's.
Right.
That dick had a mole on it. I would know it anywhere.
Right.
Cannon City School Superintendent George Welsh said the district had previously dealt with sexting, that is the exchange of inappropriate messages or pictures over social media by way of a smartphone.
Yeah.
There isn't a school in the United States that hasn't dealt with the issue of sexting. What's different about this is that it's on a larger scale.
Okay.
Welsh said the school has suspended multiple students, but citing privacy laws, declined to provide further details.
Okay.
Schultz said investigators are waiting for search warrants before viewing the images, but school officials did not look at them because they are allowed wider latitude to search items on the school property.
Where the hell was Pete Townsend when they needed him?
Well, here's the thing I want to know.
Yeah.
Students own these cell phones.
Sure.
Okay. When does the school get involved with what students have on their private cell phones?
That I don't know unless they hear about it.
Yeah, that's my point. But at what point do they say, let me see your cell phone? What do you have on there as far as content?
Yeah.
See, that's the problem I have with this story. It's just like, at what point does the school get involved with student activity over the cell phone or even over the internet?
And why don't these students know how to hide their pictures better?
Well, we're going to get to that point.
Okay.
Because there's actually a part about
this. There's apps that
Yes, this is part of the story.
Okay.
Welsh said once he became aware of the issue on Monday, he gave the district's athletic director and the school's football coach 24 hours to assure him that no football players were involved, which they could not do.
Okay.
So apparently this hinged on whether some of the athletes in school could participate in school sports due to this quote unquote violation.
So what are they saying? That the athletes had to turn in their phones or they couldn't play in the game?
That's my question. It's like, at what point do the school get involved with knowing what's on a student's personal phone?
Yeah. I had this problem when my kids were in school. I found that some of their bullshit, they way overreached, into my kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they for all fucking 6 years that my kids were in school, were in high school. The 4 with my daughter and then the 4 with my sons, but there was the 2 years that overlapped. Every year they sent home this contract that me and my ex were supposed to sign,
mm-hmm.
saying what we were gonna do, where we were responsible for this or that. I was like, fuck you.
Right.
I'm not signing shit.
I agree.
And every year they would call and they'd be like, well, your child's not going to be able to attend class or whatever unless you sign. I was like, fuck you. My child will attend class because that's what the fucking law is. And you can suck my dick because that's what I feel you should do. And I never did sign it. And I got all kinds of grief and I got calls from superintendents and principals and everything else. I was like, fuck you. I'm not legally binding myself to your fucking horse shit. Fuck off. Well, they overreach badly now, man.
Right. So anyway, according to this story, this whole sexting thing bled over into their sports program.
Right.
And they suspended the last game of the season due to, the fact that
or whatever.
Right. Or there was a lot of the athletes involved.
Yeah. I hope it wasn't a championship game.
It was the last game of the season.
Yeah, but the team must not have been very good.
It's hard to say. But anyway, it says
going for a state championship, they'd have let them fuck at halftime.
Yeah, they'd say, well, we'll investigate this after the season's over.
Right. You could bang the cheerleaders under the bleachers at the half. We
Sure.
don't care. Just win the game.
We then made the decision to forfeit the game, he said.
Right.
Which was the team's final game of the season.
Okay.
Fremont District Attorney Tom Ladeau said once the investigation is substantially completed in about 30 days, his office will decide whether any criminal charges are warranted.
Right.
If any of the students are over 18, there's that thing that we were just talking about.
Right.
They could face adult rather than juvenile charges where the penalties are stiffer.
Okay.
Adding that each instance will be dealt with on a case-to-case basis.
Right.
Aggravating factors that could determine whether charges are filed include whether any sexual contact was involved.
All right.
Well, this goes back to what you just said about if he took, a guy took a picture of his 15-year-old girlfriend at 17-year-old sucking his dick.
Yeah.
That's subjective.
Is that a criminal act?
Maybe at the time when he was 17, no. But if he's 18 and still possesses the photo, perhaps.
It's ridiculous.
Well, again, it's just like, well, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Whether anyone was whether anyone was coerced into taking the photos or whether there was any threats of retaliation for not reporting the incident, he said. We're not aware of any of those things, that any of these things have happened. Okay. It's possible no criminal charges could be filed.
So they're guessing?
Well, they don't know enough about it yet.
All right.
So, again, this high school embroiled in this sexting problem.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's widespread within the school.
Okay.
I'm trying
widespread within every school. anybody that thinks that their kids are not showing fucking beaver shots and cock pics amongst each other are fucking foolish. Dude, when you were 14, 15 years old, didn't you try and get a chick in the woods to fucking, even if you didn't bang her or something?
Of course, you're always checking them out.
Yeah, I mean, but did you not lure the girls that you were interested in to the woods and fucking show them your dick? Maybe not even do nothing. Just say, hey, look at this.
Well, I can't personally say that I've done that.
I did that. Shit, yeah. You'd show it to them hoping that they were fucking feeding for it because that's what you envisioned happened, that a girl saw a dick and had to fucking do something to it.
Sure.
When you're 14, that's what you thought. You thought the reason they made you wear pants all the time was that was the only way to keep them off of fucking sucking your cock. That's how you lived. Now they just throw dick pics around.
Right.
You know. Again, I'm not advocating it, but I'm not going to fucking criminalize it either. Not kids.
Well, again, they're going by the age.
Yeah.
Because some high school kids do come of age during high school.
Right.
And they become, adults at that point.
Yeah, it's a tough. The whole thing's tough because, man, you'd hate to ruin a fucking good kid's life with that.
I agree.
You'd hate to take a good kid that his only crime is that he bangs his fucking chick in his senior year of high school, and he's on his way to college or whatever, and fucking 2 days after he turns 18, bust his ass out as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
I agree with that too.
That would be fucked. That would be really fucked up. Bad news, man.
It is.
They're just trying to make it so that you're fucking afraid of pussy.
Is that what it is?
It is. It's the fucking continued demasculinization of men. They're working on the kids now.
Well, I was trying to find the story here that indicated what you were going with, the whole hiding the photos with apps and whatnot, because I did read the story. I just can't seem to put my hands on it for some reason.
But dude, do you know any married guys that fucking, they don't cheat on their wives, but they have these fucking more or less sexting things with other chicks?
You know what? I don't know enough dudes to answer that question.
Yeah, that's what happens when you stay in your fucking moat surrounded house.
Yeah, I just don't get involved.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that I know a few people actually that have that going on. It's that they don't cheat, as far as I know. They don't actually fuck these chicks.
Sure.
But they have chicks that'll send them fucking naked pictures. And look at it. I mean, I've shown you, I'm single now. I don't give a shit. But, it's not uncommon for chicks to send you naked pictures. I've shown you how many different chicks that have sent me naked photos.
Sure, absolutely.
Since I've been divorced.
Yeah, but see, the difference is, though, in this situation, is that you're an adult.
Well, I get that. But what I'm saying is that the act of throwing pictures around is not exclusive to adults. People start wanting to get laid when they get 13.
I agree.
And these kids have phones. So they're not only fucking throwing pictures of themselves around, but these kids are all looking at porn too. They all look at porn. They can say they don't. They can try. Parents, unless you're a fucking tech like me, an average parent would never be able to catch a kid. The kids are smarter on the computers than 90% of the parents. They know how to get rid.
That is true as well.
So you're going to need a forensic person in order to fucking find out if your kids are surfing porn. But they're all surfing porn. Every computer that I work on of a personal computer ends up with porn on it. Every computer that I work on. I told you this story about I don't know if I told it on the air, but I know I told you about the guy that was the church deacon.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that story? Did I say that on the air or not? I don't want to.
I don't think you told it on the air.
I'll tell it real fast. Had a church deacon. He also was a guy that cleaned up meth labs. That was his day job.
Okay.
was he ran a private business where he went in behind meth labs and cleaned them up. And he was old school. He had a computer out of necessity because he had to do his reports and submit them to whatever health departments, police departments, whatever, for cleaning up these meth labs. But he had a small business. That was his business. He'd go into a meth lab, he'd clean it up, he'd do a report and send it to whoever the fuck you send the report to, right? Well, after 10 years or whatever, his hard drive died, and he lost basically the history of his business.
Okay.
Like every other computer guy that me and you know, didn't have anything backed up.
Sure.
So through a friend, our friend Matt, referred me to this guy, or referred this guy to me, and the guy asked me if I could, get off some any of his data to try and save his data for his history of his business. So I was like, yeah, we've got some tools that we can use to get data. And I met with the guy, nice guy, came to my house. He was like, he was telling me his story. He's, 25 years in his church, and he's the deacon of his church, and this and that. And, ever since his wife died, it's been, blah, 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 right? The whole story. So, all right, cool, whatever. I take the hard drive. I give it to my son, who was fucking 15, 16 years old, I guess, at the time.
Okay.
Just gave it to him thinking, all right, church deacon, here. What you can do. See if you can recover any of this stuff. I'll give you $100. A nice little side job for my son. Within 5 minutes, my son comes back to me and goes, Dad, you need to look at this.
Right.
I look at the thing. Nothing but porn. Just everything he's pulling off this machine, porn. So I was like, oh, fuck, give me that back. And I took it and I did the work. And I ended up with like 50 gigs of porn. 50 gigabytes of porn. All like 30-second videos at a time. So you can imagine how many fucking videos there were of this fucking porn.
Sure.
And I didn't know what to do, so I just burned it all to a disc.
Right.
And I gave it to the guy. And I said to him, I said, here's your discs, whatever, all your data that I could get is on these discs. And he's like, well, did you check it? And I was like, no, I didn't know if it was personal or private or illegal for me to see it, because I thought it was, police records. So that was the lie I gave him.
Sure.
Was I didn't look at it because I didn't know if I was allowed to.
Right.
So I gave him this stuff, and then about a week later, he calls me up, and he goes, are you sure you didn't look at any of these discs? And I was like, yeah, I didn't look at any of it. And he's like, because I don't think some of this is mine. I was like, yep, I guarantee you everything that's there was on your computer.
Right.
And then I never heard from the guy again.
Of course not.
He had actually talked about doing a website and everything else, and that guy disappeared.
Sure.
Out of shame.
Of course.
But dude, every computer, I think, on the planet, I would bet 1 out of every million computers has porn on it or doesn't have porn on it.
Right.
I would bet all the rest do. All the phones, all the tablets, everything. Dude, if it has a screen, it's made for porn. Let's just be real here. And it doesn't start, you don't start thinking about pussy when you turn 18.
That's true.
You start thinking about it a lot earlier. So you go looking for it a lot earlier. I don't know why that's a big shock to anybody.
Well, it's not a shock. It's whether it violates the law or not.
But what parent, who's the worst is the parent that reports that. The parent that takes the 18-year-old kid that's been dating his daughter for 3 years and fucking turns him in. That person needs a punch in the fucking face.
Well, I agree with that.
I get it if they say, hey, I know you got some pictures of my chick sucking your cock. Erase your phone.
Sure.
And if he doesn't, well, then maybe you got something. But I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't know that there's a right answer to this other than, maybe when you're talking about kids and they're still in high school or whatever, maybe in that circumstance, you kind of give them a warning. Hand over your phone. We'll wipe it clean. No charges filed. Maybe? I don't know. And I don't know if by doing that you're setting the guy up to be the next Jared either. I don't know how psychologically that works. So.
Sure. Well, I found more of the story.
All right, go ahead.
According to CBS News on November 6th,
Yeah.
this has turned into a widespread probe because this doesn't entail just a small group of friends.
Okay.
Many of the kids are doing this. Students as young as 8th grade are involved in passing around these nude pictures like trading cards.
Right.
According to the Daily Mail, the principal reports this become a contest among the kids collecting these nude photos. Even if parents and guardians of these kids kept a check on what was in their children's phones,
right,
they wouldn't have seen these pictures as they are kept hidden. Using an app that looked like a calculator,
right, sure,
these kids are able to keep the naked photos hidden. A Vault app, which hides these pictures, kept these naked images a secret from adults.
Sure.
Just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
There's not just 10 or 20 kids involved in this. Police are dealing with hundreds of nude photos of the kids in the school.
Right.
It's hundreds. And I mean, it's flooring us to know many of these photos we are finding on the phones that we confiscated. See, now I wonder, how did you confiscate a phone?
Yeah. Why? Well, because the students give them up because they think they've got their shit blocked.
Well, I know, but at what point does the school have the right to confiscate your phone? That's what I want to know.
But it's probably in their bylaws that when you come into the school,
okay,
school year, that you're. Well, I don't know, because you do have to have a warrant to look in their lockers.
See, that's my point. It's just like, at what point did the school have the right to confiscate a cell phone?
Yeah, you would think they'd need a warrant.
You would think.
You would think, unless the student volunteers it.
Sure. The investigation is ongoing, and they are looking into possible felony child pornography charges.
Wow.
With this scandal involving at least half of the school's football team, the team's game has been canceled.
Well,
the school did not want these boys to represent their community.
Do you think that the school is really trying to do the right thing, or do you think that maybe some of the administrators just think the cheerleaders are hot, want to see for themselves?
Nah, I don't think that's it.
You don't think?
No, because again, it even with this society as it is, there's still some amount of public shame involved.
Yeah, maybe.
There are equal number of girls and boys involved in this scandal, leaving parents wondering how to properly supervise their sons and daughters when it comes to the new technology.
Right.
It is baffling to many who remember how modest teens were in high school decades ago.
Right.
Some girls wouldn't disrobe in the showers with just other girls around. Today things seem so different.
Well, dude, and that is true. These kids have no shame.
Well, where do you think that comes from?
TV.
Of course. It comes from, the Kardashians.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this and that. And it's just like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah, you can become famous for sucking cock.
Pretty much.
Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton made a bunch. I mean, she had money anyway, but she made a shit ton of money.
Of course.
From sucking that guy's cock.
Well, even look at
Kim Kardashian.
It all started even as far back as like a Monica Lewinsky. I mean,
sure.
Granted, she didn't make a shitload of money due to her improprieties. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, she did become famous.
Look at how Pamela Anderson's career blew up.
True.
After the Pam and Tommy tape.
That is true.
I mean, Pam Anderson was hot and was known for being hot and naked and Playboy, but she wasn't doing anything. I mean, really, was she?
Not that I'm aware of.
Tommy video that she got fucking famous.
That is true. Because she was the Tool Time girl on what was that?
On Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. She was on there, and she was on Baywatch.
Yeah, but she was nondescript on Tool Time.
True.
She really was not a standout in that show. And wasn't Baywatch after Pam and Tommy?
I thought it was just before.
Was it?
I thought.
It's in that same time. I don't know exactly. I just know that Pam wasn't getting movies until she sucked Tommy's dick on tape.
True.
And once she did that, then she got barbed wire.
That is true.
And my personal favorite, what is that one called? Something Souls.
You know what? I'm not that big of a fan.
Wait a minute. How can you not be a big fan? I got to look up that movie.
The only memorable scene that I remember Pam Anderson in, as far as a movie is concerned,
yes,
was Borat.
Oh, right. Nice.
Pamela.
Yeah. The movie, by the way, Naked Souls.
See, I don't even know that one.
Let me tell you how good this movie was. Naked Souls is about a crazy scientist that finds some kind of magic potion to that'll, if he's in the same room as another guy, he can have that guy drink the potion or somehow do something with the potion, and then he switches bodies with him. And so he picks Pam Anderson's boyfriend.
Okay.
And switches bodies with him and leaves this guy in this old decrepit wheelchair while he's fucking Pam Anderson.
All right. Again, I don't even know anything about that movie.
It's great. Naked Souls. Look that one up.
All right.
It's a scene of her. This is where I'm just a total fucking perv. The best scene ever in a movie. So for whatever reason, they were trying to make body casts.
Okay.
So Pam lays down in this fucking puddle of whatever, cement, mud, whatever. And the guy just starts fucking mushing the fucking stuff all over her big fucking massive tits.
Okay.
It's a good scene. It's just a good scene.
All right.
Well worth the rental.
All right. I'll have to take your word for it.
There's another scene where he's banging her against a fucking chain link fence, and her tits are just kind of fucking coming through the fence.
All right.
Fucking another good scene.
All right.
It's a good movie. Naked Souls, man.
I've never heard of it.
It's a good movie. I'm just telling you.
All right.
All right, there you go.
According to Fox News today, discovering what was going on within the school started small, and soon the staff realized this was big.
Yeah.
Bigger than the school alone should handle. The investigation started after someone called in a tip to the state's confidential Safe to Tell hotline.
God.
Safe to Tell.
Right.
This hotline is set up for students to report threats and dangerous behavior.
Right.
A tip led to a couple more names. An interview led to a couple more. At this point, it was, well, everybody is doing this.
Right.
Of course, we didn't believe them up front. And the more we looked, the more we said, hey, we have to turn this over to the police department.
Okay.
This is deeper than we can handle.
Yeah.
Besides possible arrest over the sexting scandal, some of these kids may start their lives off with a sex offender status, which is what you brought up.
Yeah, that's hard.
If it comes down in charges in a court and these kids are found guilty, which is exactly the point you made.
Yep.
Officials did say they are not wanting to see a juvenile get hit with such a horrific title as a sex offender. So the utmost discretion will be used.
Okay.
The prosecutor said, we certainly have no intention of requiring under law a juvenile to register as a sex offender unless it is absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Thursday night, the school updated a full house packed with concerned parents. They posted a message to the school's Facebook page, originally announcing the sexting scandal.
Right. Wow.
So there you go.
The funny thing is, this is so easy to police by parents, and fucking these parents today are just so fucking useless or lazy. I'm going to say lazy.
Well, I'm going to say lazy, and I'm just going to boil this back to people having children that probably shouldn't be having children, because they don't even want to take responsibility. See, the way that I was brought up, okay, here I'm 51 years old.
Right.
Okay. At this point, throughout my entire adulthood, I realized, even in my teenage years, I never wanted to be a parent.
Right.
Never.
Okay.
So through my adult years, I made it a very, very strict point that I was not going to be careless and reckless,
right,
and produce a child. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That was a very important point for me.
Right.
I know a lot of people through my years of knowing people who basically bang out chicks
right,
without any concern at all,
right,
whether it'll produce an offspring or not.
mm-hmm.
And when it does, they don't seem to give two shits whether it happens or not. It's just like, oh, well, that's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then these single women are left to raise these children.
Yeah.
And the majority of them that I've known personally, they don't want to be a mother. They don't want to be a responsible parent.
No, they just wanted some dick.
Yeah. And so they're left with a offspring, a child, that they do the very, very, very minimum to bring that child up. They don't give it guidance, parenting, counseling, instilling any kind of values. They just make sure that the kid is dressed, maybe has something good to eat, gets to school on time, and doesn't get killed in the process. That's it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep, that's it. Dude, it's. I used to get shit from a lot of my friends, and this will probably surprise you. You probably don't know this, but with my kids, considering who I am, I was pretty strict with my kids to the fact that, like, when they were listening to music and shit like that,
sure,
the first place an album went was to me. And I would listen through it, and if it had, when they were 13, 14 years old, whatever, if it had profanity and shit in it, or it was talking about fucking, that song was gone.
Right.
That song was gone, or if it had, curse words in it, I'd edit it.
And that would be the actions of Christopher Gore.
Well, I was. On some level, I was, because to me, it wasn't appropriate for my kids to be listening to, fuck songs.
But that's what a parent does.
Yeah. And the same with the TV. We didn't let my kids watch fucking violent TV or any of that shit until they were like, well, now.
Sure.
They had to get away from their mom to watch that shit. But I mean, for me, it would have been like 16 or so, before I was going to let them watch anything, that had like, harder sex scenes or fucking, murder and that kind of shit. Because I didn't want them exposed to that until they were old enough to understand it a little bit. But that's what you do as a parent.
That's what a concerned parent with some discretion is supposed to do.
Yeah, and not surprisingly, I've never had a kid arrested. I've never had one knocked up, and I've never had one come to me that they knocked somebody up.
Sure.
Amazing how that works, isn't it?
It is amazing. I will tell a personal story here.
Oh, wait a minute.
This goes all the way back to like 1980, maybe 1979. I don't know, somewhere around there. Okay. And remember when the network TV used to do these, they were documentary. They weren't documentaries. They were, what would you consider Roots or the Thornbirds or anything like that? What kind of a series is that?
Those mini
series.
Yeah,
mini series.
Right.
Mini series at that time were all the rage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
5 straight nights.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
3 hours a night for 5 straight nights.
Exactly. Well, one of them was called The Bastard.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that one or not. I think Richard Chamberlain was the lead in that. I don't recall.
The Head Bastard?
It was called just The Bastard.
All right.
That was the name of the mini series.
Okay.
I personally didn't give two shits about the miniseries.
Right.
I didn't care. It was summertime. I remember that. Now, my sisters, who were a little bit older than me, they wanted to watch the thing.
Okay.
And my mother was just totally against it.
Right. 1978, by the way.
Okay. Well, I told you it was like 70s, almost 80, somewhere around there.
Wow, this had all the big names in it, too. I'll let you finish your story, but you want to hear the names?
Go ahead. Tell me the names.
Andrew Stevens, Tom Bosley, Kim Cattrall, Buddy Epson,
Wow.
Lorne Green,
Okay.
Olivia Hussey, Cameron Mitchell, Harry Morgan making an appearance.
Wow, look at that. Most of the 60s and 70s TV staple people.
Yeah, I'm looking through
Be it the
these.
Beverly Hillbillies or Green Acres or Happy Days or MASH.
Right. Patricia Neal was in it.
Oh, the Waltons.
Yeah. Eleanor Parker.
Don't know who that is.
That is Donald Pleasance. Don't know who that is. Here's one that you'll know. He played Paul Revere. William Shatner.
Okay.
The rest of these. William Daniels. Bill Daniels. Anybody? And Raymond Burr was the voice. And the
Okay.
rest of them
Ironsides.
don't. Yeah. And James Gregory. You know who that is?
No.
Me either. All right, so that's the end of the.
Okay, so basically 60s and 70s TV staple people
Sure. Mm-hmm.
were involved with this, anywhere from Star Trek to the Beverly Hillbillies to Happy Days to the Waltons.
Right.
All these people were involved, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This was a miniseries.
240 minutes.
Okay. My mother was extremely against my sisters watching this, I think just because of the name.
Just because of the title?
Because of the title. I don't know what her exact reasoning being,
Right.
but the word bastard was,
Right.
I guess, would be considered back then a curse word.
Right.
You fucking bastard.
Yeah. Well, she'd be more upset with the fucking part.
Well, I understand, but
I think you're right though. We could never say bastard.
yeah, you couldn't say whore or bastard.
No, or hell or anything.
Yeah, exactly. So she basically gave strict orders
Right.
to my sisters, because I didn't give two shits about it, not to watch the thing.
Right.
Well, they went ahead and watched it.
Of course they did.
Of course. So, being it was the middle of the summer, and my parents oftentimes would be outside during the summertime evenings, working in the garden or doing yard work or whatever.
Right.
My sisters would sneak a peek at watching this miniseries.
Right.
And I remember my mom coming into the house while my sisters were watching this thing on TV
Okay.
and catching them watching this on TV.
Right.
She took the TV away for 2 weeks.
Wow.
That included me, and I wasn't even involved with this thing.
Right. You just got fucked over in the deal.
Yeah. because they were watching The Bastard.
Nice.
But see, this is what parents do or
Sure.
should be doing.
Yeah.
Monitoring their children and deciding that this isn't appropriate for you and you can't watch this or listen to this or be a part of this or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And my parents took that seriously.
But you know what would happen in today's world? If that same show came on, the parents would bitch to the TV station before telling their kids not to watch.
Yeah, it's a TV station who's at fault for showing this.
How dare they put that on TV?
Exactly. Rather than saying, you know what, I have the choice of flipping that knob off
Yeah.
and not allowing my children to watch this.
Right.
But in my day, I hate to sound like that, but
That's true.
that's what happened.
Dude, that story you just read about the kids. Same thing. How about the parents fucking man up and raise their kids? The parents should be the ones that are fucking saying, hey, give me your fucking phone. I'm going to look through this bitch.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to set it up so that every picture you take automatically loads to the cloud. The minute it doesn't, you're fucking losing your phone.
I agree.
And then check your fucking cloud every day.
Sure.
And that's 2 clicks on any phone. But these parents are so fucking lazy that they don't do it.
I agree. Hail and kill, caller, you're on the air.
You know what's funny? And this goes along with Neely's story about the TV show. You know where I learned most of the dirty shit that I learned as a kid and a teenager? Not music, not movies, not TV. Books.
Books?
That's right.
You were a bookworm?
Yes, I was, and nobody thought about censoring, keeping tabs on what books I read because, you're reading a book. Cool. That's good.
Because reading is fundamental.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the first movie that I saw that was really raunchy, or even it was PG-13. It was the Steve Martin movie Parenthood, right? You saw it?
Yes.
And the one teenage boy character is watching porn in it, and his mom discovers his porn stash. And there's a scene where the teenage girl, incidentally the sister of the porn hound, she and her boyfriend were taking pictures, and the wrong pictures got delivered to the family. It was supposed to be pictures of the family dinner, and it was pictures of the naked chick or whatever. And there's even a scene with a dildo. Oh no! The power goes out, and they're looking for a flashlight, and somebody discovers a dildo, and he turns it on. What is this? But I think I was probably way too young for it. I was probably in 6th or 7th grade, 6th and 7th grade, when I started actually getting my hands on some adult books. Just stuff that sort of just fell into my lap. And it landed hard, so to speak, in my lap.
Well, what would be considered an adult book?
I was something that wasn't specifically written for kids. Something that was specifically for grown-ups that had swearing and, I would say, explicit descriptions of sex. I'll tell you the first few that I remember having read was the first one was a short story collection called 14 Stories, and 2 of the stories in it were extremely graphic. One of them was basically like a parody of porn stories, wherein the guy went home from a party and he fucked his babysitter and his wife walked in and they had a threesome and they ended up fucking the neighbors and all this shit.
Wow.
I know, that was the first thing I read. And what gave it serious literary value was that beginning lightly in the beginning and very heavy toward the end, it had these fake typos in it, so it ended up being almost incomprehensible. So as a 6th grader, I was having a hell of a time trying to figure out what was actually happening.
6th grade?
Yes.
Wow.
6th grade. And another story in that book was, I'll just put it this way, it was called The Intruder, and the first lines of it were, I go into her apartment. She's being raped. He's on top of her, but not inside.
Did that scar you for life?
Right.
No, I don't think so. Not really.
Well,
Is your cock hard thinking about it?
I'm thinking about it now. I think it probably should have scarred the fuck out of me. Because I didn't really give much of a thought at the time to the fact that this woman was being raped by a guy who snuck into her apartment saying he was a flower delivery man. I was just thinking, they're having sex.
Wow.
And then the second book was, you know who Evan Hunter is?
No.
Or was? He wrote under the pseudonym Ed McBain, who was pretty famous. He wrote a lot of, he had a series of police procedurals called the 87th Precinct, and he also wrote Blackboard Jungle, which was, of course, made into the movie. But he wrote this book. It was under the Evan Hunter name, and it was totally non-spectacular. But it was called Love, Dad, and it was kind of the breakdown of the family throughout the late 60s. In it, the husband and wife are on vacation in Italy. And we know from the first few interactions that the wife is frigid. He kind of makes overtures, and she's like, tomorrow. He says, it's today already. So basically, he's not getting any pussy, and it's starting to bother him. So they're on their vacation in Italy, and he's thinking he's going to get some in one afternoon, and the bitch picks a fight with him, saying that, my period's late, you better not have made me pregnant and all this stuff, right? I'm now in 7th grade. And I kind of get it by this point. So he lays on the bed, and he masturbates while fantasizing about some chick he just met at the swimming pool. While his wife is, picking a fight with him. She's frumped herself off to the shower. But, it didn't occur to me till later that the fact that, this guy's life sucks because he's laying there beating off to some woman he just met and maybe had a chance with but gave up because he wanted to fuck his wife and now his wife won't fuck him. The only thing that stood out to me was at the time as a 7th grader was she straddled him then and rode him furiously, her breasts bobbing wildly.
Wow, that really left an impression. You remember the verbiage right out of the book.
I was hard for hours after that.
Holy shit.
I was so hard it hurt.
God damn.
So many years ago, and yet that left such an indelible impression on your young mind.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
And also in the same scene was the concept of edging.
Edging.
I know Chris the porn hound knows what edging is.
I don't. Edging?
Edging, as in right to the edge.
Oh, yeah, that's horrid. Horrid.
Yeah, it's when the chick rides you almost to when you're about to blow your load and then stops. And then starts again, and then stops, and then starts again, and then stops.
Yeah, that's the worst. Just do your job and take your fucking spunk bath.
like a thin line of mercury receding inside a thermometer was how it was described in the book.
Wow, that sounds horrendous. Just say it the way it is. Take that salty spunk and fucking get it out of my system.
And the last episode that I will discuss, one of my all-time favorite books, not for this reason, but at this point, I am a hardened veteran, so to speak, at this sort of thing.
Okay.
Christmas Day, 8th grade, I got this book. Obviously, nobody vetted this book out before because it had a scene involving fisting.
Wow.
Nice.
But of course, by this point, I'm a real pro at this sort of stuff, so I know that the fisting thing is way twisted.
What book was this that had fisting in it?
It was called Crisscross. And it was by a guy named Tom Kakonis, Kakonis, and I am pleased to report that it is now available on Kindle.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty good book. It's kind of a crime type thing where some people plan a robbery and they cancel each other out. They're all plotting against each other. And meanwhile, there's a totally unrelated plot twist involving a guy who goes to a hair restoration clinic because he's 22 and losing his hair, and he doesn't realize that the whole thing is a scam. So as he loses his hair, he loses his mind, and he ends up killing killing the fake hair doctor, who just happens to be a part of the robbery.
Now, maybe I'm missing something, Doghouse, or maybe they don't know how to promote, but I'm looking at the synopsis for Crisscross, and it mentions nothing about fisting.
It's just one scene. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. The guy who masterminded the robbery, he forces his ex-wife to be a part of the robbery, and she works at the store that they're planning to rob. But before that, and before she really gets involved in the robbery, in the first few scenes that we see her, she's just a checkout girl. She's got this guy on the hook, and he's an English professor at the junior college, and he's like fat and slobbish and old, and she hates him basically, but she fucks him because she thinks he's rich. But at one point, she comes home and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to go out tonight," and let's just stay home. I'm too tired. And she gets him drunk, basically. And he says, those party games you spoke of, I think I may be up for a little after all. And she ends up fisting him.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
And then she says, for God's sake, Dexter, you can't lay there on the floor shaking all night.
And this is something you read in your high school years?
I was in 8th grade.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's a lot to absorb it as an 8th grader.
You know, I know it was. I don't know how much of it actually stuck. I've read it several times because I've enjoyed the book, the general plot of it, and the way he plays with words and stuff. But, on subsequent readings, I realized that there was stuff that I didn't quite pick up on when I was 13.
The Chicago Tribune says that book puts him on the same level as Elmore Leonard.
Oh, it's more out there than Leonard.
Leonard is. I was just throwing that out there to sound like I knew.
Good reference, though. I love Elmore Leonard, but this is further out there than that. There's actually a couple of redneck twins that are incestuous with each other. And guess what, Neeley? Their last name is Dawkins.
Is that right?
Yes, Clayton and Duane Dawkins.
God damn it.
In that case, Neely's buying the book.
Sure. I'll get it on Amazon tomorrow.
I knew that would entice him.
Sure.
This has been Literary Corner.
Wow.
Brought to you by Merriam-Webster. On your classic metal show, fuck you, pal.
Wow, look at Doghouse. He's got quite the extensive insight on these, sexual proclivities.
No shit.
At 8th grade.
See, and this is where I'm going to just take these pictures and delete them. I no longer want to see this. Any fisting pictures.
Wow.
So now they're gone.
Holy cow.
Yuck.
Well, anyway, everybody's, even Doghouse in his years were advanced at the time.
Right.
But had cell phones and smartphones and the internet existed then, they would have been sexting then.
Right.
It's crazy.
This is the worst.
Yeah, this is the world we live in, my friend.
I know. It's fucking weird.
You're just lucky your kids are grown now.
And you ain't lying.
So you don't have to deal with this.
I don't know that I could put up with this nonsense.
Right.
I would have had to homeschool them. And by me, would have been her.
Right.
Sure wasn't going to be me.
I'm glad I never went down that road of producing offspring.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's just not my just not my deal.
You lucked out, my friend. Because God, I can't imagine you sitting in a fucking. I cannot imagine you would horrify this room where they had this meeting about the fucking sexting.
Right.
Because you would be the guy that would stand up in the middle of the whole crowd and go, "What gives you the right to look at my son's cell phone, you cocksucker?"
Sure.
That would be you.
Yes.
You know, I know it, and you'd be right, but you'd be the only one with enough balls to do it because you know all these fucking faggots that are fucking too afraid to do anything about their kids.
I agree.
You know,
they just want everybody else to raise their kid for them.
You do it for me.
Ain't happening, my friend.
Nope.
All right. Well, I'm going to play a tune or two, and we'll come back. Are you still in or not out or what?
I need to go to bed. I don't know. I think I'm going to bed because I got to be up. I got to be up and out by 9.
All right. Well, we're going to end the show a little early tonight.
All right. End with tunes.
All right. We'll do that.
All right.
I thought I'd play some Salty Dog.
All right.
Probably one of your favorite tunes from Salty Dog.
Cat's Got 9.
That's the one.
It is beautiful.
All right. Well, Chris is going to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end the show early. I'm going to play a couple tunes, take us up till 2 o'clock Eastern time.
That's enough.
And you guys are going to have to do without an hour's worth of show.
Yeah, I'll give you a bonus hour of stuff on the whatever, the Spreaker.
All right. So AOR rocks. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to get your show ready because I know you enjoy entertaining the fans.
Yes.
So you got 15 minutes. Get your shit together. I'm going to play some songs, and then we'll turn it over to you.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's been a fun show.
Yes.
Even though we're a little short.
That's all right. Next week we'll do a real show.
All right.
Next week we'll give them bonus time. 5 extra minutes.
There you go. What do you want to hear, May Kay? I see you say, play some Dokken.
I already did play some Dokken.
I know, but she's like a fan.
A fucking idiot. How about that?
Yeah. Give me a song. I'll play it for you if you got a song.
Sarah. How's that?
Yeah. All right. Well,
enough.
I'm going to let Chris go to bed. I'm going to play a couple tunes, and I'll come back and close out the show and let AOR Rocks take over.
All right.
All right. Well, here's a Salty Dog from their debut release. This is Cat's Got 9. So until next Saturday night, this is Neeley along with my very good friend
Chris Hagen.
We're gone.
Bye, kids.